Welcome everyone to today's news. Today we have a special coverage for you. George H.W. Bush, also known as Bush Father, was the 41st president and served in office between 1989 and 1993. Let's learn more about him with the report we have prepared for you.
That's right, Laura. And George H.W. Bush not only was well known as a smart president when it came to foreign policy, but also as the last president to not get re-elected, whose biggest weakness was domestic politics.
Yes, he had one of the most impressive CVs a president has had when coming into office, having served in the Army, being part of the House of Representatives, president of the Republican Party, director of the CIA, being the first ambassador of the United States in China, being the ambassador of the United States on the United Nations, and having served as vice president both terms of Ronald Reagan's presidency.
Very interesting. Let's now see what our report located in the George H.W. Bush Library and Museum in Texas has prepared for us as well.
Bush assumed the head of a state at a time of change in all international politics. With good judgment, common sense, and infallible leadership, President Bush led the nation and the world to a peaceful and victorious end to the Cold War. This means he was seen with respect by his peers, with a good character and determination for decision making.
Thank you, Laura. And yes, Bush wanted team players who respect one another and who work together to manage a changing world. He knew that cooperation would not come very easy, and that he needed to develop an effective plan to manage national security policy. He also knew who wanted to help him: Brent Scowcroft, Ford's quiet and effective national security advisor. Bush and Scowcroft showed that an administration could have a strong Secretary of State and a national security advisor. As the familiar Cold War of the last 40 years began to disintegrate, they found that they needed that kind of cooperative process. Bush reimagined the way the United States government created and implemented its foreign policy. Together, Scowcroft and Bush designed a national security process that maximized cooperation and avoid conflict between senior officials that had clouded the Nixon, Carter, and Reagan administrations. Bush was a mastermind of foreign policy. 1989 was a year that proved that to the world, even though it was at the beginning of his presidency. First, with the invasion of Panama, Bush proved that he was going to fight for democracy and to put away drugs from his country at any cost. However, the most important milestone of 1989 was his meeting with the Soviet President Gorbachev to discuss nuclear disarmament and the strengthening of the Soviet-American trade relations. And after having decided mutually, the Cold War was finally over.
Another iconic moment of his presidency was known as the Persian Gulf War. During this time, President Bush showed off his skills in diplomacy and foreign policy, and the way he managed the Iraqi invasion to Kuwait, first working its way through diplomacy, and then using force as the last available but trustable resource, taking into account that Iraq was also using little force, and that the force that the United States of America were using at the time was the result of a well-designed coalition.
Thank you very much for our reporters to this information report and to all our viewers for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Until then, see you in International Relations 2020.